So, today we're diving into a topic that's not often discussed but extremely important: well dying. More and more people are beginning to think about the best way to approach the end of life, especially as they grow older. Have you ever thought about how you want to live your final years?
Definitely. It's something that's hard to ignore as we age. You start to think about what kind of life you've lived and what kind of legacy you'll leave behind. In fact, I've heard a lot about this well-dying concept where people aim to approach death in a peaceful, meaningful way. What does that really mean, though?
It's about living with purpose until the very end. In fact, as we live, we're all learning how to die well. It's not just about the physical aspect of dying, but how we wrap up our lives. We must think about how we live and die because it shapes our spiritual journey in the next realm. For example, if we don't tie up loose ends here, that could affect the next stage of our existence.
That's really profound. So you're saying that the way we live and die directly impacts what happens to us after we pass? It's almost like we don't just die, we transition to something else?
Exactly. When we leave our physical bodies, the spirit doesn't just disappear. The energy that makes us doesn't vanish. It transforms. It enters into a new dimension, like moving from the third dimension to the fourth. The question is, how do we live in this dimension so that we transition smoothly?
That's an interesting idea, how we transition to the next stage. So the physical body is just a temporary vessel, but the essence of who we are doesn't die. It evolves?
Yes, the physical body is just a temporary home. After we pass, our soul, our true essence, continues to exist. It doesn't perish. It's a natural part of the cycle. If we've lived a life full of negative attachments, like grudges or regrets, it could cause us to stay attached to the earthly realm. But if we've lived in a way that benefits others and cleanses our soul, we can move on to higher planes without such attachments.
So if we live selfishly, holding on to our possessions or relationships too tightly, we may find ourselves stuck even after death?
Exactly. If someone has too much attachment, especially to their children or material wealth, their spirit can become heavy. The more attached we are, the harder it becomes to let go. And then, instead of ascending, we find ourselves lingering in the lower realms, impacting our loved ones without even realizing it.
That's kind of haunting to think about, that our attachments could keep us stuck. So, to die well, we should focus on the greater good, right? Not just our own small world?
Precisely. The more we focus on helping others and living for a higher purpose, for the good of humanity, not just for ourselves, the lighter our spirit becomes. This lightness helps us ascend to higher dimensions after death. It's like clearing the fog to see a clearer path forward.
It sounds like the key to a peaceful death is to live a life of selflessness, always striving to improve not just for ourselves but for everyone around us.
That's the essence of it. And the way we treat others, the way we handle our life's work, has a direct effect on our spiritual state at the time of death. It's not about gathering wealth or material possessions. True peace comes from making a meaningful impact with our lives, no matter how small it seems.
That's comforting, though. Knowing that by living for others, by contributing to the greater good, we can ensure a smoother transition when the time comes. It gives life a deeper purpose, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Life becomes much more meaningful when we live for something greater than ourselves. And when we approach death in this way, it's not something to fear. It's just a continuation of the journey.
It's reassuring to think that, as we age, we don't have to fear death if we've lived a life full of purpose and service. In the end, it's not the amount of years we have, but how we choose to use them.
Exactly. The well-lived life leads to a peaceful transition. And the peace we carry with us, in this life and beyond, is the real measure of a life well done. That's the art of well dying.
Well dying. I think that's a perspective we should all think about more often, don't you? How we end our lives can say just as much about us as how we live them.
It certainly can. And the beauty of it is, it's not too late to start living with that kind of intention. We can always change, grow, and prepare for the next stage. It's never too late to begin well dying.
A good thought to end on, for sure. Maybe it's time for all of us to start living with the end in mind, focusing on what really matters.